Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. This is James, and in this video, let's talk about what happened to the rest of the world in The Walking Dead. There's a bunch of fans that have watched the show, watched all the spin-offs, maybe the webisodes as well, and they know the answer to this question very easily because it was answered in the show. There was even a novel set in China, so we'll talk about those things. Way back, I did a video, did the virus go global? Because that was a question being asked to me on the channel at the time. That was several years ago. We've come a long ways since then. So let's relook at it, even though most of us know the answer to the question, what happened to the rest of the world. And that's while Rick Grimes, of course, was fighting for survival in Georgia and Virginia, and the governor and Negan and CRM, they were rising and falling. And now that we've got to 2025, we know the answers to a lot of questions. Was it just America that collapsed into chaos, or the rest of the world? I do think that was answered in season 1, episode 6, when Dr. Edwin Jenner told Rick and his group that France was the last one to hold out. The last country with scientists still working on the virus before communication was lost, before power was lost. Jenner was making fun of the world running on fossil fuels. So the fuel ran out. Power ran out. Things went dark globally. France was the last to hold out. So just that sentence right there tells us all the other CDCs, all the other scientists maybe working, or governments working on the virus that were in communication with each other, one by one, were going dark. And France was the last to hold out. We've learned some more about France since then, but still, that should have told us that it's global. But we do have some hard canon facts now, of course. We've got Fear the Walking Dead. They traveled into Mexico, and it was clearly in the same post-apocalyptic state that the U.S. was. We've got survivors forming new communities and groups, and new power structures were forming. We've got the Walking Dead novel Typhoon, set in China. It's during the early days of the outbreak. The story does tell about the widespread collapse, some military containment, and it hints at the global failure, but it does confirm the virus went to China, went to the east. I know many of you guys have asked me to do a review on that book, and I started it, but I haven't finished it. I got to get back to that, and I will try to do that eventually. Daryl Dixon, of course, by now we know that he's been to France, and we've seen France. There's some people there, but it did fall. England, we're going to see in the next season, and Spain. Again, it's global, but there are still little groups and communities around. So we're getting to see some of the rest of the world through Daryl Dixon, and it does seem like we're going to keep doing that the way it's going. So we know North America, pretty sure Canada, we've got Mexico, we've got Europe, most of Europe that we know of, China, all collapse. So it's a global thing, but could there have been some people in some places survive? You know, like some remote island nations. You got Iceland, New Zealand, maybe some Pacific islands. Maybe they close their borders, or they're using ocean barriers for safety, or whatever. But still, everybody is infected. So somebody's going to die inside those ocean barriers or borders or safety. And, you know, you've still got a problem. So it's likely, but unlikely, really, at the same time. We saw in Dead in the Water, that's a Fear the Walking Dead thing, that we saw a nuclear submarine and how you could have survived on it. An entire Navy fleet. You've got possibly Navy fleets from other countries. What if some of our guys and some of their guys just formed one big fleet, one big flotilla type thing, where they maybe took over an island, and the military really, hardcore. Everybody's locked in at night, that kind of thing. They're maybe put in different little groups or sections in case one breakout is pretty bad in one section. There's a fence in between. Maybe they're doing it really strategically. They still have their ships and stuff. They can maybe go on little missions, but they've got the island, maybe for hunting, maybe for a garden. They can maybe have a garden on an aircraft carrier deck or something like that. They can fish. So that's more likely than a lot of these other scenarios. But, the CRM had a hidden city per se. There could be some things out there like that. Bunkers, of course. We've seen a bunker in Fear the Walking Dead, but there still could definitely be some government bunkers or something like that still out there around. So those of you out there that enjoy world building, that's pretty much the realm that we're getting into, is world building. Not, we kind of know it's a zombie apocalypse, zombies, it's a problem, everybody's infected, that kind of thing. All of those issues have been dealt with. And the zombies were always not the focus necessarily. It's a show about people and that kind of thing, but still, it is a zombie show. It is about the zombies at the same time, and they've become less and less over time. We're going into more world building. So, a future next generation that we've been talking about in some of my videos that could have Judith, all the kids, Gracie, Herschel, every main character has a kid. So they're planning on that next generation. It could be more about reconnecting continents. And there, of course, still be threats by people. We've still got those two huge hordes out west on the other side of the Mississippi in America. There could be, like you guys mentioned in the comments of that video, what about over in India and China and places the population was much bigger? There could be some really, really huge hordes out there. So what happened to the rest of the world? Well, it's a global thing, and all of the nations that we know of have fallen. And there's just little bitty spots and groups of communities and survivors and things. And we're getting details, of course, still little by little because of Daryl Dixon spinoff and such. So yeah, pretty much every detail says it is global. It was global. What happened to the rest of the world in The Walking Dead? It all happened pretty quick, pretty fast. We learned that in season 1 from Dr. Jenner. The French were the last to hold out. Pretty much the dead inherited the earth. But the living, we see the living is still around. They haven't given up yet. And whether it be in America or France or coming up Spain, we'll see in Daryl Dixon season 3. Of course, we got Negan and Maggie in Manhattan, and there's a new Babylon group that's on the mainland. So there's still things happening. The world building is happening at this point. And I imagine, and what we've seen from Daryl Dixon, that is what's happening in the rest of the world as well. It all fell pretty much at the same time, and it's rebuilding at the same time. And I've asked you guys before in some other videos and stuff like that about how many of you enjoy the early day stuff versus the world building stuff. And I do think still the largest majority of fans want to see early day stuff. Even if they went back and started with a new character, didn't have, Rick in it or anything. If they had to start a new series, maybe start it not with the old people and in the future, and it be world building, but go back to the beginning and let's just follow someone else. Maybe have hints and Easter eggs of the main show of The Walking Dead and stuff, some stuff happening, but it still be its own thing, this new show, new characters, but still starting from the beginning. And I know a large majority would rather it be a soldier or a cop or, something like that, and not just, a normal person, but it could be almost anybody, a scientist, a plumber, electrician. It could really just be, like Joel and his brother in The Last of Us. They're just normal dudes. They weren't anything special as far as military cop or scientist or anything like that. But I know a lot of you guys enjoy the world building. You're excited to see the rest of the world as far as Daryl Dixon and where that could go and what we could see. And if they maybe started a new series, a lot of people would want to see someone in another country, not even it happening in America. Let's have someone in another country, even if it's from the beginning, the early days. But I know a lot of you guys do enjoy the world building. I'm an early days type of fan as far as seeing the early days. When you say zombie apocalypse, I think Outbreak. I don't think, I wonder 20 years later, kind of what they're doing. I know there's some of you guys out there like that. That's just not me. I want to see the early days. That's what I think about when I think about zombie apocalypse, zombie shows, movies, things like that. But that's it for this discussion on what happened to the rest of the world. Those are the little hints and insights on what did happen to the rest of the world. It was global. But you guys, any questions or anything you might want to add, definitely do that down in the comments. And I'll join you there. This is James, and as always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more dead stuff.